In Charlie's phone, there are several names of important demonic entities, and despite the season ending back in February, I've had non-stop requests to cover these few small entries in her contacts list, so let's dive into it and talk about how Charlie knows all of these demons and angels. My name is Deepcut, demons call me ImpCut, welcome back to hell, and let's dive into it. Now, when Charlie's opening her phone in episode 5, it's because she's trying to call her father, listed under D for dad, which means we only get to see a few names on the list before and slightly after his entry, which of course, in addition to Lucifer, contains well-known characters like Angel, and even the Eggy Boys, which I find hilarious. Outside of the 3 Eggy Boys and the hatted rubber ducky for her dad, however, the names are mostly demons and, more interestingly, fallen angels like Lucifer. The most interesting of these contacts on Charlie's list, in my opinion, and really to most fans, is that of Azazel. While other entries include Ars Goetia members and Deadly Sins, which are more important to the show, Azazel presents just the right amount of mystery and intrigue. For those who don't know, Azazel is one of the many names of the Watchers in the Book of Enoch, and one of the rare names also mentioned in the Bible. The Watchers are entities in Enoch who came down as a group to, as their name implies, watch over humans. However, in the Book of Enoch, they end up falling in love with human women, leading them to throw away their duties and take human wives. This leads to a race of children known as the Nephilim, giants who were so big that they burst out of their mothers' wombs, ate all of the food in their lands, and then turned to eat the smaller humans. Azazel is just one of these angels, as I said, and one who was known for teaching the forbidden art of metalworking to humans. This led to the introduction of weaponry among humans and the ability to kill and enslave one another. Now, immediately, this story should sound a bit similar to the story of Lucifer himself, and that's by intention. Lucifer is an angel like Azazel, Lucifer teaches forbidden knowledge like Azazel, and both took a human wife. However, they aren't actually the same character. Azazel is just one of the many names given in that Book of Enoch for different fallen angels who work together, and his character is not what you would call the leader of the fallen angels, which is Shemyaza. Shemyaza is the one who urged the other Watchers to join him in throwing away their duties to God with a special oath of disobedience. Now, in Judaism and into Christianity, the name for these entities can change from one story to the next or from one time to the next. The story of Genesis is really a compilation of stories of the same key figure being given with different symbols in each chapter. This is why later commentaries such as the Zohar and the sources it draws from saw the serpent from Eden as the father of the sinful line of Cain, who they also saw as the father of the Nephilim. These figures were not actually related to each other within the Genesis text, but it was understood by the people who read the stories that these writings were all about the same key conflict deep in the past, each using that different symbol or name. The Book of Enoch bridges the gap of that, creating a more elaborate history for these beings in the form of the sons of God as they were called in Genesis, or the fathers of the Nephilim, equivalent with the Watchers from the Book of Enoch. Therefore, Shemyaza is the serpent, the leader of the fallen angels, but Azazel is not. The Zohar refers to the leader of the fallen angels by a different name, however, Samael, something that Shemyaza had naturally evolved into over the 1,000 years since the Book of Enoch was written. In the Zohar specifically, Samael is said to take Lilith as his wife, after also seducing Eve in order to create the sinful line of Cain. This clearly links Lucifer to Samael in the Zohar, but not Azazel. Other angels like Asa and Azazel are said to take Cain's descendant Nama as their wife, with some people today wanting to associate Azazel with Azazel. However, I have yet to see a direct link between them, and the point is just that the tradition doesn't lump them all in together as one entity, and that Samael or Lucifer is very different from Azazel, even if we don't know exactly who Azazel's life would be canonically. Lucifer is of course a Christian name, one that's been applied to the leader of the fallen angels based off of Isaiah 14 and the Latin Vulgate translation of the Bible. Here, a Babylonian king is being discussed in a poem as being like Helal ben Shahar, or Dawn, son of morning, which most people understood to be Venus, the morning star in ancient cultures. This is a passage that, outside of Judaism, many people have tried to link specifically with the fallen angels from the Book of Enoch, as here, Venus is described as trying to outshine God and eventually being pulled into a pit in the earth as his punishment, similar to the fate of the original Watchers in the Book of Enoch, who are are forced to watch as their descendants die from within a pit we think of as hell. Azazel is interestingly even alluded to in the Old Testament, with the mentions of him in rituals for Yom Kippur involving a scapegoat sacrifice for him. In my mind, Azazel would be an angel like Lucifer, perhaps one of many others like the Watchers who chose to rebel after Lucifer did himself. While he's described as leading the effort and really insisting upon it in texts like Enoch, taking other angels down with him, I wouldn't be surprised if in the show, Lucifer's first act of defiance is what allowed other angels unrelated to him to realize that they could also rebel. It's Lucifer's more innocent act of pride, thinking that his ideas were more important than Sarah or the elders, that would allow the more evil angels to actually influence the earth in purposely negative ways that suit their own goals. Azazel appears to be in hell based on the fact that Charlie is able to talk to him through her phone, but the nature of his relationship with Lucifer or Charlie is kind of unknown. Charlie has the name of several elites and royals, and that doesn't necessarily mean she has a good relationship with him or that her father does too. She may actually have a better relationship with him than her father, as he seems to try and isolate himself and may not be all that popular with the more evil rulers of hell. They might see him as too much of a goody two-shoes who's really only here because heaven forces him to be. Charlie may just be more endearing than him, the way we see Rosie being taken with her as soon as she walks into her shop, and I could see her stumbling her way into the hearts of the elites of hell, whether nice like Rosie or outright evil. Now, above Azazel is the first on Charlie's list, which is Amon, who is one of the demons of the Ars Goetia from the real-life Lesser Key of Solomon. He's described as a wolf with a serpent's tail, which would look really cool, but unfortunately, he wasn't seen in the trailer shots that seem to show a variety of cool Goetia. However, there will eventually be a greater episode featuring this shot and all of these characters, and presumably at least a few more from the Ars Goetia, so he may be seen among them. In the Ars Goetia, Amon is listed as a marquis, making him rather low on the totem pole, the same level as Andrealphus, who, despite being a threat to Stolas, is much lower than him as a prince. After that is Barbatos, another Ars Goetia member, this one a duke, but without any cool animal hybrid description or really any important information for the show. More interesting in my opinion is Belphegor being on Charlie's contact list, well known in the show as the deadly sin of sloth and thus the ruler of the sloth ring. Thus far, Belphegor hasn't been seen, but Beelzebub, the sin of gluttony, did mention her as having a huge stash of pharmaceuticals that Beelzebub would love to party with. With the sloth ring being a big medical ring, however, Belphegor embodies the restrictive yet still abusive use of these drugs not to be distributed at parties. It's possible Belphegor will be seen at the big meeting of the elites seen in the trailer, where Mammon and even Satan seem to appear alongside the Ars Goetia. Vivziepop did not mention her, however, when talking about finalizing designs for Satan and Leviathan for an upcoming episode, leaving Belphegor as the only deadly sin not being confirmed to appear before or within this episode. Finally, we have Syrwraith, which I'm probably mispronouncing, which is a much less biblical character. I had to actually consult Wikipedia on this one. Syrwraith, still not pronouncing that right, is apparently a Welsh ghost who somehow got equated with stories of some big ugly lady who hangs out in misty places. This one was rather random, and it seems almost like an absolutely random attempt to just add something non-Judeo-Christian in, which I definitely would love to see more of. Charlie, however, I could totally see befriending some big ugly spirit, some sinner who manifested in hell so long ago, and everywhere she goes mist appears, and no one likes to be around her, so Charlie became her texting buddy. That's gonna be my headcanon here. And for the record, it's also my headcanon that the 3 Eggy boys in Charlie's phone are also her texting buddies. It's possible she thought it would be easier to keep tabs on Alistair by texting them, but I feel like Charlie texts a lot in her spare time, and the Eggy boys are just constantly responding back very politely and very innocently, and it's just a never-ending stream of them sending memes to each other and funny little how do you do's. In order to make this video a little longer, I will also say that my headcanon for her father's contact pic was something automated on his end, a self-assigned picture as opposed to the pictures of the Eggy boys, which I 100% expect Charlie to have taken herself after asking them for their numbers. But what do you guys think? Let me know your theories on how Charlie may have gotten these numbers in her phone in the comments down below. Not just the Eggy boys, obviously, but Amon, Azazel. Am I right in thinking that Charlie just innocently networks, or do you think her dad basically has a personal relationship with each of these people and Charlie only knows them through him? Let me know your theories, and I'll see you guys next time.